not be needed.
Great.
But there we go. So, Andy, look, tell us a little bit more about yourself as an intro to our listeners.
Thank you. Thank you. My name is Anndy Lian. I'm based in Singapore, Singaporean. So I actually done most of my work outside of Singapore, in Korea, in Japan, right now in Mongolia, and further on maybe in Mexico. So right at this current moment, I'm the chairperson of BigONE. So it is a crypto exchange, top 20 on CoinMarketCap. Apart from that, I hold other roles as well. I'm a chief digital advisor for the Mongolia Productivity Organization. So this is directly under the government. We talk about new technology and so forth. Um, I'm also an investor, so some people know me by that, and successfully invested in quite a number of early stages. Right from 2017, and here I am. Talking to you and hoping to share more insights.
Well, Andy, I really wanted to kind of dive for a moment into blockchain. It's such a fundamental technology, and many of our listeners will have heard of the phrase, but may not truly understand it. Can you give us a brief introduction to blockchain?
I think a lot of folks in the space, they put it such that blockchain is a very complex a mechanism. But I would always love to say that blockchain is a much secured database that is holding everything together. It's more secure, it is transparent. There's a lot of other things that you can build on top of the blockchain. So that enable things like automation, that enable a lot of other things that could not be done in a traditional space or a traditional database can do. So that is a very quick layman intro, to blockchain.
And what differentiates it from software? Because that's also does some of the similar functions.
I think when you look at software, for example, software runs on a database as well, right? So you see software as one of the application, but I see this blockchain as the structure behind the software. So there's quite a big difference on how this thing is going to be done. And then some people will say, then what about the user interface on the software or on the app? So again, these are all different layers of technology that we are all talking about. So it's quite a different thing, though, I think, in my opinion. Yeah.
Now, I might get this wrong, but blockchain fundamentally operates at, is it three different levels? You've got the kind of the underlying foundation code, such as Ether, Ethereum, or Bitcoin, and then you've got middleware and apps. Is that a fair way of slicing the blockchain environment?
I think it is fair, but as we move along into the different stages of adoption, it might not be too fair, because if you look at it from a technology standpoint, there could be more than just three layers, right? But if you look at it from a user standpoint, what the user really want to see is how does the blockchain interact with the application that I'm using, how secure it is, whether it's backed by Ethereum or backed by EOS, for example, or backed by Phantom. It doesn't really matter to them. It is just an app or a dApp that they are using. Yeah, this is how I would love to differentiate things, and make things easier for people to digest. Yeah.
And how are national governments looking at using blockchain?
I think if you look at it on a blockchain level, governments are very, very open and receptive to concepts like blockchain because it's new. It solves a certain problem. So some governments, for example, I don't want to name them, but they are already working on a national identity blockchain based backend. Just to make sure that everybody's medical records to your ID, are all on chain, because things that are on chain will not be removed or will not be altered that easily, right? So governments are doing that. Governments are very proactive in terms of blockchain technology. How it improves productivity. So Mongolia, is a country that is trying to push this very hard. Putting up the digital front, making things more digital, thus making things more effective and productive. And using blockchain, it can help to automate a lot of these things. So from a government perspective, they are very open. In fact, again, there are a lot of different tenders that they are putting forth within certain ministries. For example, Ministry of Finance, for example, they are pilot pilot trialing a whole system where they use blockchain to clear some of these applicants. Use blockchain to clear some of the bills that you need to pay. To the different stat bots and so forth. So all these things are in place, and to be real honest, in time to come, we will not talk about it because blockchain will just be part of everybody's life, and the government will not talk about it anymore because they know what it is like and they know how it functions, and they just want a better deployment compared to what they have currently.
Now, what was for those who haven't read your book, Blockchain Revolution 2030, what's the central premise of your book and what inspired you to write that?
I think for the book itself, the central the main core thing that we want to talk about back then, in 201718, is how we see blockchain in the future. So if for people who have read the book and have deep conversations with people like myself, and one of my co-author, back in 2018 we were talking about NFTs. How NFT is going to be a very popular thing, how it can change some of the old marketing ways, how they can change a title deed, using NFT, how they could change the art scene in NFT. But what we talked about back in 2018 only came into a better, maybe a better, a better place only just recently, in 2021 especially. So what we are doing and the narrative that we are putting forth is something that we see is going to happen in the future. So apart from that, we have a lot of other kind of scenario where the blockchain is best used as an application. So the supply chain, for example, there is how the whole maker city can evolve better with blockchain, how the whole this automation works with blockchain. So all these things are slowly getting into its place. And again, I hope in 2020 we could see the other thing that we talk about a lot would be industrial 4.0, automating manufacturing facilities using blockchain. So that could be something big that we foresee back then in 2022. So hopefully we will see more of those. Yeah.
Okay, well, you've looked ahead. Let's look at the present, and can we talk about some current use cases of blockchain that our listeners might be familiar with?
Well, I think most of the use cases that we have heard of that is always on the mainstream media would be how the finance sector is using blockchain, right? They will use blockchain as a way to automate some of the clearing. Some of the clearing houses are already using that. Certain amount less than this amount is all automated using the blockchain technology. um, Other things that we see for blockchain, you can actually say that NFT is something that is
Yeah,
blockchain
we've had a
enabled.
freeze.
You know,
Sorry, Andy,
so
we just had a freeze on the screen for a moment.
no problem.
Sorry about that. I don't know why you suddenly went a little bit spastic, but
I saw that. I saw the screen going smaller.
yeah. Okay, well, let's just let me approach that question again, Andy. We looked ahead with your book, but tell us about some of the current day use cases of blockchain that people might be familiar with.
When you look at the current days, most of the time when you look at the mainstream media, it is more finance driven, right? So the banks are using blockchain for clearing their funds. The medical industry is using blockchain to keep their medical records. The supply chain industry is using blockchain to look at traceability options for some of their products. And again, if you look at the current times, look around all the hype and so forth, there's NFT, right? So NFT is also a use case that you will see for blockchain. Again, if you are in Hong Kong, for example, in Singapore, you could also see some of this pay vending machine that is blockchain enabled, or crypto enabled. You can also see a lot of different payment for retailers right now that are accepting cryptocurrency. So that are actual use cases of blockchain.
Now, your book has the title "Blockchain Revolution." What is truly revolutionary about blockchain? And in your answer, can you kind of dive into the immutability of contracts or the kind of the use of the community to create blockchain?
I think this is a very big question. Why I say this is big is because whenever we talk about blockchain specifics, many of our folks or my friends, in the space, we talk about um, immutability, transparency, things like that. And this seems to be really big words and so forth. But to me, I don't think those things are really that important, to be honest. I think in order for blockchain to be more popular and widely accepted, it has to be widely adopted, right? It should not be a case where it is purely driven by technology. A good technology without good usage is going to be bad technology. So diving into the blockchain space, I think to keep things very simple is how the smart contracts are going to change some of the existing contract works. Some of the some of the interaction between application and user will be changed because of this smart contract. You just imagine, when we talk about smart contract, on NFTs, on art pieces, right now, whenever we talk about NFT, we just talk about a very nice, maybe a cyberpunk, or maybe a loot kind of NFT, but those are not the true essence of what NFT can really do, right? The true thing is, if today you are an artist, you created a piece of art, you know, by reselling, or by reselling, or even by viewing, you know, people view the NFT, or people buy an NFT, you can actually get a royalty back. All these things can be programmed onto the NFT using the smart contract, and that is the beauty behind it. And again, it enable and empower creators, and then it gives the users a more secure outlook. I bought this, is real, is on the chain. I know who is the artist and how much it was worth before I bought it, right? So again, it goes back to the usability, not so much of just pure technology. That's how I see it.
So if Andy Warhol had been on an NFT, he would have gotten his 15 minutes of fame plus future ongoing commissions.
100%. He will be a happy man, and again, uh, future artists will enjoy this, and it will be something that people will get used to it. I was actually at a art gallery yesterday night. It's in Singapore. It's one of the biggest. In fact, it's the biggest private art gallery. It's called Art Now. So we were talking about how the big gallery that they have, at Raffles Hotel, is going to change things. If you add in the element of NFT, how you're going to drive more users, to your gallery to take some nice picture, and be rewarded with additional things like an NFT. So again, traditional art owners, art gallery are changing their mindset. So are we. So we got to catch up, and bring up more hype, and more new stuff, to the industry.
Well, you talked about large-scale use cases. I can't imagine anything larger than central bank digital currencies or CBDC. How are those progressing, particularly in Asia, and how are they linked to blockchain?
Um, the back end uh, for most of the CBDC are actually backed by blockchain. Um, so that's how it works. The development of it in Asia, I don't think it is up to my personal expectation of it. To be honest, the more developed Asian countries are just putting things in the sandbox and just talking about it. You don't really see much actions. The not so developed countries are trying to push it very hard because they felt that CBDC can actually help with the whole currency and help with their economy and so forth. But if you again step back and look at how CBDC is really like and what it can really do, uh, it is actually a very simple digital dollar, right? And if your country was doing well with the digital dollar, you are still continuing to do better. But if your country is not doing well, for example, the digital dollar will not really help too much, because that's just part and parcel of the whole ecosystem, right? So that goes back to the fact that the deployment has always been very subjective. They are very hesitant to push this out because they do not want the wrong impression that CBDC equals to cryptocurrency. Because if you talk to the general public, about CBDC, they say, "Oh, Singapore is into a crypto money." I was like, nope, that's not what it is. So I think before the launch of any of this thing, the awareness and the education of what the CBDC can do is very important. So in Singapore or even in Hong Kong, where you are, the equivalent of the monetary authority must start to inform people what this CBDC can really do. What different is it from what we see right now in the digital banking space. you know and and also correct them that this is not crypto. So again, it's still a long process before it can be fully deployed. But I do see places like, for example, China. They did a very nice deployment and a very nice test of their version of a CBDC, and many other countries as well. In Europe, they are all doing this. So what I really hope to see is education first before rolling out, and proper education will help CBDC grow a lot bigger, because that is, again, if they are actually backed by blockchain, that is again a very big use case for blockchain.
Fantastic. Andy, well, we've talked about blockchain, we've talked about NFTs briefly, but I'd like to shift gears now and talk about Metaverse.
Wow.
Um, I know this is something that you're closely following, and this is a fairly new concept, even for those who have been in the crypto game for a while. Can you kind of give us an introduction to the Metaverse?
Again, I like to put things very simple. So when we talk about metaverse and so forth, you just take it as it is in the virtual world. You are starting a new ecosystem in the virtual world, and in the virtual world, whatever you try to do in the real life, it can be mimicked into the virtual world, and that is part and parcel of how a metaverse is formed. So it can be a very simple classroom environment, which is a metaverse environment in the metaverse, or it could be in a gaming space. So that's how in a nutshell, or in a very simple terms, this is how we see it.
And Metaverse is becoming very popular. Why? What are some of the drivers?
Oh, that is a tough one. I think when we talk about metaverse and so forth, big brands are embarking on that. Mark Zuckerberg, Facebook, they started their own version of the metaverse, right? But if you look at it, a metaverse in the crypto space, what's driving it, I believe, is the scarcity and the price that is driving it. You just imagine a piece of land or a building, in the virtual world can be sold at that kind of a price, and that creates the hype, and that creates a lot of following. And again, why this is popular, it is also because it's new. When things are new, people want to try it out, right? So that's how we see it, from an insider perspective. But if you look at things from an outside perspective, from a user perspective, they are actually thinking of things like how are we going to use a metaverse. How should I function in the metaverse. These are things that they want to know. Can I buy something in the metaverse. How am I going to buy it. So all these questions come to mind. And then why this is closely linked with cryptocurrency is because there are many instances where we look at how the metaverse environment is linked to a real life environment, right? How people in the gallery is able to view the gallery in the metaverse, buy the NFT version of the painting in the metaverse, and have it, in their own private virtual space. So these are changing. These are things that are changing, and why users are looking at metaverse as something interesting and fun.
Now, can you stay with me in the gallery for a minute and tell me how would experiencing an art gallery or your private NFT collection in your metaverse gallery, what would the experience be like if you were to take me into your private art gallery? Would you and I be standing next to each other and seeing each other or seeing our avatars?
Well, I have been to a couple of art gallery that is in the metaverse. I was also speaking in the metaverse. So I think the experience is fun. So you just imagine you in a selected figure, a nice character, walk around, and then with your name on top. Then people say, oh, that's Andy, nice meeting you here, and so forth. And then you could talk to new people, in the metaverse, right? You do not need to show your real face. In the crypto space, some of them you spoke to them, but you have heard their voices, but you do not know how they look like, right? So they want to remain a secret. So metaverse would become a place where they start to interact, right? And then when you talk about art gallery, for example, you could have a private area, where I only open this up to people that I know. I'll just bring you into my collection, and then you can see, oh, this collection is going to worth 1,000 ETH. The other collection is going to worth 1,000 BTC, for example. You know, it become a place where you could start to showcase what you have. You know, and then it could also be very exclusive. Whoever that comes in, you could actually get a very exclusive ticket. You know, that could be an NFT as well. So I think what we can do in the virtual world is actually very similar to what we have, in the real world. But the virtual world allow you to be interacting with people globally, in an environment that you can control. So that would be the fun part, when we talk about gallery.
Great. Well, I love the art example, and I can actually see it coming to use in schooling because of the rise of online education and the effects of the pandemic. Are there early education projects underway in Metaverse?
Yes, definitely. In fact, the metaverse education project started a lot earlier than what we see right now, because in the metaverse, right in the beginning of the COVID period, there are already metaverse classroom environment that is being launched. Why are they being launched first? Is because there's no need to talk about dollar and cents. There's no you are not going to be in a virtual world buying an art piece or buying something, right? So without the payment and without the monetary thing in place, it's very straightforward. The students and the teacher use the metaverse as a place for interaction. It is fun for the student because they may not like their teacher that much in real life, but they like the very fun icon, right? So that has really kicked off right during the COVID period, where students use this way to interact with their teacher, and then through the metaverse, they actually created their own classroom environment. Again, I don't want to be here to promote any of the projects specifically, but there are projects which are very interesting. They do their tuition in the metaverse. They do their projects on metaverse. you know so the whole group project, for example, with the students, become a lot more interactive as compared to the classroom environment, because in the classroom environment you could only do that once, right? But in the metaverse, you could record, you could replay, you could edit. There's a lot of things that can be done, and that helps to stimulate the child's mind. So that's how metaverse is like, without the crypto element.
Okay, well, Metaverse is still sorry. Metaverse is obviously still in its early stages. What needs to happen in order for Metaverse to become full on mainstream?
Well, maybe something that is not so appropriate to say, but that's a very good example. If COVID-19 continues at this current stage with new variants, well, metaverse is going to be a very big thing. Because not every one of us are happy with what we have right now. Some of them say that, oh, I can't travel anymore. I can't meet my friends anymore. But metaverse gave them another opportunity to interact, and interact in a very different manner. So I think metaverse will grow because of that situation. But on another front, from a more crypto front, for metaverse, is because um, uh, gaming on metaverse is going to grow, and it will grow a lot. So when the gaming industry adopts and welcome and create all these different metaverses, the different metaverse in their different world and universe will grow very fast. Just imagine some of the games, some of the bigger game players. They have millions and millions of users. If all of them were to get into that metaverse, or create a new metaverse of game, it's going to be a big hit.
Yeah, it sounds like the closing scenes of Ready Player One.
Yes, 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 yes. There's a lot of things.
Yeah. So, Andy, how do you keep tabs on the news and updates in the crypto world? What are the sources you turn to?
Wow, I'm mostly on Twitter, and then I spend time reading from some of these websites. For example, Cointelegraph, Blockcast.cc, uh, securities.io, for example. I read from sites like that because they can bring me the latest news, you know. But I do want to say that they might not be able to give me the best insights. So the best insights are still talking with friends in the industry, keeping tabs of what's new. Talking in some of these Telegram groups can give me more insights than what you can read, from the news sites.
Fantastic. And just for those who may not be following, what's your Twitter handle?
Andy Lian. So ANNDYLIAN. That's my Twitter.
Great. And that'll be down in the show notes below. So make sure to click and follow Andy. And Andy, we like to end Crypto Savvy with a bit of a forecast, any subject you choose. But I'm looking for what are the trends you're looking at that will shape 2022?
I think the upcoming trend, or the bigger trend that we can all see right now is GameFi, or play and play, play and get money kind of a model is going to be big, in the crypto space, especially for this quarter. We have seen, at least for me, I have seen big game players changing their gaming model into this, and they will make a big hype, in the fourth quarter. That's what I see from the game trending side. The other thing that I talked about earlier in the show, I hope to see manufacturing uh, uh, um, manufacturing facilities using blockchain, as part of their Industrial 4.0 initiative or as part of their automation initiative. I hope to see that together with the supply chain, because I think uh, good use cases like that is going to be there for a long time. These two are two different trends that I see that is happening. And then the very last trend that I hope to see as well, or at least I see some of the countries pushing this very hard, is to have crypto as a former form of payment, you know, uh, and that is also something big and also a baby step, for merchants to understand, some of how some of these tokens are going to work for them, and how things can be a lot easier, in the retail environment, you know, uh, especially during this COVID period. So these are the three possible trends that I see that are coming. And again, I hope everyone would always, stay safe, and also stay safe with the tokens that you are trying to buy as well, right? Because not all tokens are the same. Not all tokens with 21 million supply is going to be like a Bitcoin, right? So everyone got to try to stay safe, especially during times where a lot of projects are encouraging trading and so forth. So that is a final word of caution, for everybody. Buy things that you really know, buy things that you felt that is safe, do your own research, and then make your own informed decision. That's my final note to everybody.
Well, Andy, thank you so much for being our guest today on Crypto Savvy, and we look forward to speaking with you again, hopefully when you're in Hong Kong or in the Metaverse. We can catch up in our studio and do this again. But thank you so much for your insights today.
Thank you, my friend. So I hope to see you soon. Thank you.
Fantastic.